Good morning, Villa fans, and welcome to another Transfer Talk episode. Also, want to talk a lot about this man in your picture, Morgan Rogers, and what is kind of going on with him at the moment, and are we at risk of burning him out? Obviously, I don't want to talk too much about the Brentford game. Let's try to draw a line under that, but I'll talk about it a little bit as well. So, Morgan Rogers. Is the man in your picture. 23 years of age, been at Aston Villa now for 18 months. Are we over relying on this player to produce week in and week out? He's just picked up the Young Player of the Year award. Fantastic achievement. Has had a really good 18 months with us, obviously getting into the England team and really sort of, cementing his place in our first team. But are we over-relying on someone who's been with us for 18 months, fresh out of the sort of championship, no kind of prior football experience before that as well? I'm not saying he's rubbish, absolutely not. He's an absolutely tremendous player, but I'm just thinking that at the moment, Unai Emery seems to have his favourites, and Morgan Rogers is one of those. I mean, how he stayed on the pitch against Brentford for 90 minutes is beyond comprehension. I've never really given a player a 0 out of 10 rating before, but Morgan Rogers was certainly a 0 out of 10 for his performance there against Brentford on Saturday. Couldn't control the ball. Now, with Morgan Rogers, I think this has been said before, you can tell in the opening 3 or 4 minutes of a game whether he's on it or not. His body language was all wrong. If things don't go right for him with his first kind of few minutes, then you know that he's going to have a setback and it's kind of hard for him to get into the game. And his body language was terrible. He lost the ball a few times. There was no kind of, no chasing back, just moping a little bit. I know we've lost Jacob Ramsey recently, and the fans put out sort of messages like in support of him. You don't know the half of it in terms of Tyrone Mings mentioning that. Morgan Rogers looked like a very sulky player on Saturday. Whether he's sort of looking at a move, whether maybe the Chelsea links that have been there. Obviously, he's got his best mate Cole Palmer playing for them. He's seeing them doing really well. Is that turning his head? Is all the hype that he's getting going to his head in terms of these awards that he's getting and recognition now? But he hasn't looked the same player for a good few months. It's not just the Brentford game. Newcastle game, he was pretty rubbish as well. Back end of last season, obviously, he was moved around to accommodate Asensio, and he's played on sort of out on the wing where, he that's not his best position. But he's been, I think he's at risk of burning out. I'm not saying burning out like a Dele Alli type burnout, but I feel as though he needs to be kind of benched maybe, or have that thing where sometimes, he doesn't play 90 minutes. If he's having a shocker like he did, you have to bring him off. You have to show him that he's not undroppable. And I think at the moment, things have been leveled at him like arrogance and things like that. And obviously Emery, as I said, has his favourites, and Morgan Rogers is definitely one of those. Obviously Watkins doesn't get subbed, but there is no one really to bring on for Watkins. Morgan Rogers, I know the squad is pretty thin at the moment, but you're taking off the likes of John McGinn, who didn't have a great game either, but he was performing better than Morgan Rogers was. I mean, Morgan Rogers was terrible against Brentford. Let's have it right. And there's no way that he should have stayed on for 90 minutes. You're subbing the sub. Emi Buendia, again, didn't have a great game, but again offered more than Morgan Rogers. But Rogers gets to stay on. Do other players kind of look at that and think, well, why am I being taken off? And you're leaving Morgan on the pitch. And he's absolutely rubbish. We all know that he has, great ability on the ball and can change a game. That's probably why Unai kept him on. But I think sometimes you need to bring these players down a little bit of a peg or two. And I think Morgan Rogers needs that. He's had this upward trajectory, in the last 18 months. His career's just gone like that, skyrocketed. And now he's at a point where he just feels he's untouchable. But I just think we need to be very, very busy in this last week of the window. I can't believe we've got to this situation where there's less than a week to go and we are struggling to bring in players. We are scrambling around. Unai wants players to come in. Window's been open since, when was it? Beginning of June? You know, we've I know we've had to get players out the door, and the outgoings have been really good in terms of getting Coutinho off the books, Dendoncker off the books, and that side of it. And obviously, you know, we lost Jacob Ramsey, which maybe we didn't want to do, but we had to, and that was the PSR sacrificial lamb for us. But the incomings, I know we brought in Bizot and Guessand, and again, Guessand looked bright when he came on for his little cameo as well. Want to see him start against Palace, absolutely. But we need more. The squad that we have now is much weaker than what we had last season. I know that we had Rashford and Asensio there as well, and that was a strong team. But we've got hardly any options coming off that bench now, and it's concerning. It's concerning that the way that we're trying to play, and we're trying to put in players into positions that they can't play, i.e. John McGinn playing as an out-and-out right winger. I mean, that should never be happening. He's no way a winger. There's no way. I mean, inside, cutting in on his sort of left foot from the right-hand side, yes, I can do that. But if you're relying on John McGinn to be your outlet and be your width, that is shocking. That is shocking. And you had someone like Daniel Marlon on the bench and Evan Guessand on the bench, but we went with this narrow formation against Brentford again, and it just doesn't work. You need width. One of the players that you play in that front three has to be a winger. Has to be someone that is comfortable going one against players to take them on. If they lose the ball 50% of the time, fine. But the other 50%, they're going to be creating, they're going to be getting past the player, they're going to be opening up spaces on the pitch for other players, and they might even go and score themselves. I would rather have someone that is going to be taking on his man 50% of the time than have someone like John McGinn out wide. No disrespect to John McGinn, because it's not his game. He's not going to go past you. And players know that, so they're not going to be able to play balls into spaces that he can run onto, because they know he hasn't got the pace to get there. But if you have a Daniel Marlon or an Evan Guessand or a new player coming in, hopefully, to play that sort of position, play that kind of winger role, then that's what we need. And yeah, I mean, Morgan Rogers, the over-reliance on this player now, let's not forget, 18 months ago, he was in and out of the Borough team as well. But his potential under Unai has gone up massively. And yes, he is a tremendous player. But I just feel as though we're having this over-reliance. Asensio needs to come through that door ASAP. And, maybe Rogers needs to start games, absolutely. But if he's having a stinker like he has in the last two, you need to drag him off. You need to show that he's not undroppable. Otherwise, his ego is really going to go through the roof. He thinks he's just undroppable. And we can't have a player like that. People talking about, if Chelsea come in with 70, 80 million for him now, we'll take that. I don't think we should. He's 23 years of age. He's probably one of our main players. And obviously, with less than a week to go to the window, who the hell are we going to replace him with? It's not like the January window when you had players like Rashford kind of sitting there waiting for a move, trying to get something, but didn't happen. There's no players on the same level as Marcus Rashford with a week to go now that we could kind of get in. So we're going to be looking at the likes of, I can't believe I'm saying these names, like Christopher Nkunku, who's been recently linked from Chelsea. Oh my goodness. I'd rather have Nicholas Jackson. Nkunku, where? What's he going to do? Plays as a striker? Not a very good striker. That can't play really on the wings or anything, I don't think. I haven't really seen him do anything out there. Nicholas Jackson, at least you know what you're getting is a striker that plays on the shoulder, that can kind of hold the ball up a little bit. If you're giving me a choice out of those two, it's Nicholas Jackson, but it looks like he's on the way to Bayern Munich now because they've agreed a loan fee. So, I did a video about Monchi a month ago. You can go back on the channel and have a look at that, about what the transfer strategy is. And, I know that he's done a lot of good work in terms of the outgoings and helping us on that side and trying to, we've had to do that. But it's getting to a situation now where we are desperately scrambling around. The last window, it's like we've been shopping in Waitrose all of this time, looking at all the great sort of selections of foods and things like that and picking out maybe Guessand as one. And all of a sudden now we've ended up in the sort of bargain bucket, the bargain bucket section, and we're scrambling around what's in there. Oh, look, AAA batteries for £1. I'll have that. Do you know what I mean? It's like, it's terrible to leave your business and we don't need one player. We need at least 3, maybe more. But it's crazy how the window has gone for Villa. When you see other teams doing their business, I mean, Everton have just bought Tyler Dibbling from Southampton for 35 million. Dare I say it? You know, Everton attacking three of Grealish, Tielemans HAS, and now Tyler Dibbling is probably on a par with us, or maybe even better. It's, you know, you got Nottingham Forest who are strengthening. Douglas Luiz has just gone in there. They look like they're going to be a good team this season. You know, Man United have got to sort out their stuff defensively. So, you know, they could kick on later on in the window as well. With maybe a couple of extra signings. You know, Donnarumma's still there and things like that, and they need a goalkeeper. Wouldn't surprise me if he ended up there somehow. But in terms of Villa, there's so much more business that needs to be done that we are leaving it so late. And there aren't that many great players available. I mean, who can you think of? I think Garnacho is one player who's still available who would be an improvement for us in that. But we're not making any sounds about Garnacho. It seems to be all Nkunku, JD Canvo, Crystal Palace are interested in him now. Have we left that one too late? So they want to get a replacement for Mark Gahey, who looks like he could be leaving in the next week. So there's an awful lot of transfer business that needs to be done. And we're not looking anywhere near sort of transfer targets. I'm hoping that we've got players that can come in, because I rated Monchi in the January transfer window when he brought in the likes of Rashford, Asensio, and Disasi. I thought that was great business considering what we needed at that time. And obviously, you know, Asensio and Rashford were really good signings. Disasi, not so much, but he gave us some defensive cover, which we were desperate for. And we're in that same situation again. We need a right centre back that can cover Konsa, because Powell and Mings, two left footers, we saw it. I called it that, yeah, they should play together, because who else have we got? Lamar Bogard, or play Boubacar Kamara at centre back. That could have been the other options. But, you know, in hindsight, maybe we should have played Boubacar Kamara at right centre back. Because again, Yuri Tielemans playing in the 10. I mean, again, he can do it on the odd game here and there, but Yuri Tielemans is a player who plays his best football when the players and the pitch and the play is ahead of him, not playing as a 10. Because when you play as a 10, you're playing largely a lot of the game with your back to goal or on the turn, and you're being closed down straight away. Yuri Tielemans is that player that wants to pick the ball up from the centre backs, have a look up the pitch, who's available, who's making runs, and play those incisive passes. That's where Yuri Tielemans is best. So he's best playing in that double pivot for me. Amadou Onana, don't get me started about this guy. 50 million. He's a 50 million pound cheerleader. There's been the odd occasion where he's done really well and had good games, but I knew against Brentford, there was a moment about 3 minutes into the game, I think, where the ball runs loose around sort of near the halfway point, and literally a Brentford player is coming steaming in. Onana's coming steaming in, and it looks like Onana's going to get there, and Onana completely misses the ball somehow. I don't know what happens there. And then Brentford are on the break, and they nearly kind of score for him. I think that was the opportunity where Damsgaard had that early chance. But if you watch the beginning of that move, what the hell was Onana doing? Completely missed the ball. I have no idea. He was favourite to get there, and just completely misses it. I have no idea. But Onana's not that ball playing midfield player. I mean, for a 6'5" physical presence that he's supposed to be, he does get out muscled. Doesn't dominate midfield like he should. And, you know, he's no way an upgrade on Dougie Luiz. Dougie Luiz is probably twice as good as Onana. And, you know, obviously Luiz now has gone to Forest. But I think we've missed a few opportunities. Even Jack Grealish, I'll mention his name again. I feel as though we missed an opportunity to bring him back, because he would have been perfect on that inside left position for us. And the way that he's driving Everton, well, he did in this last game against Brighton, it just reminded me of the Jack Grealish from Aston Villa. Where he was given that kind of freedom and that kind of just go and express yourself. We would love to have that here. And I think, you know, that kind of signing would have really, you know, got the fan base back on track with everything. And, you know, it might have been okay, we've lost Rashford, but now we've got Grealish. But that's not happened. So let's forget about that one. And I just feel as though there are missed opportunities in this window. I don't know who we're going to end up with now. It just feels as though we're desperate, scrambling around. And I'm just worried that there's not players of the caliber of Marcus Rashford sort of sitting around waiting for a move that we could kind of swoop for at the end. I just feel as though we're going to be left with an Nkunku, and God knows, I mean, we'll be linked with Paquetá from West Ham as well. He would be a good signing, but I don't know. I can't see it happening. I can't see it happening to Aston Villa. So yeah, just disappointing. But yeah, Onana for me, yeah, I have my reservations about him. And again, he's been linked with a move to Saudi. If a Saudi club comes in and puts 50 million on the table for Onana, I'm taking that all day. Get the money back, reinvest it. I'd rather see George Hemmings come through, to be fair. Give him a chance. I think he's got more potential. Looks like a good player, but, let's see. But, yeah, also, defensively, Maatsen needs to get a run in the team. Digne, I think he's suitable for some games, but definitely not against the likes of Brentford. And against Crystal Palace, where they've got pace in attack on Sunday, it's going to be now. We need some pace there. So I think Ian Maatsen needs to come into the team. I think the link up between Maatsen and Guessand on the sort of left-hand side, when they both were on the pitch against Brentford, was okay. And I like to see more of that. So Guessand, for me, needs to be starting as well. There's been a massive cry for Daniel Marlon to come into the side on the right-hand side and give us that option. I would go personally with Guessand on the left-hand side and have him as the winger option with Maatsen flying, as an overlapping left back. So kind of changing the balance of the team and have the winger on the left-hand side. I would still go with John McGinn on the right-hand side, but cutting in on his left foot, providing that inside option, not as the winger. And then Matty Cash can kind of stay at home as a back kind of three, really, because Matty Cash getting forward is terrible as well. So there's no point. So I'd rather be changing our, point of attack and looking at the left-hand side and getting Guessand wide, getting Maatsen wide, having McGinn, because I think you're going to need McGinn's legs against Palace as well. But who else have we got? Daniel Marlon for me. If you play Marlon and Guessand, I think you've got two wingers. Then you've got no kind of option from the bench. And I'll be honest with you, Marlon looks good when he kind of comes on with a bit of pace. I think his first touch, and this might be controversial, his first touch is not brilliant. I've seen so many times where the ball's played into him and the first touch is not great, and he kind of needs a second and third touch to get the ball under control. Or sometimes I've seen him pre-season with a ball is played into his feet and he's just, either he's flat-footed or he's not expecting it and the ball just kind of runs away from him, or heavy touches. So for me, Marlon, I don't think he's ready for a start. I think Guessand looks like a player, looks more silky, looks more comfortable on the ball. I think I'd like to start with Guessand out on the wing for me. So that's personally what I would like to do here. But yeah, the transfer talk really it's going to be very, very interesting what goes on. Obviously, we've got the Palace game on Sunday night. Window shuts on Monday. I think we're going to look to wrap up all kinds of business by kind of Saturday. I can't see us doing anything last minute on a Monday, like literally on the bell. So these next few days are going to be really, really important. And there's going to be names that are coming out of nowhere in terms of who we're going to be linked with. But for me, I still think we need a winger or maybe two. We definitely need an Asensio type player. And we definitely need a right centre back or a right back, someone that can play maybe both positions. Not sure who that player is going to be. Right backs, Matty Cash, I've never been a massive fan of. Andres Garcia doesn't look like he's anywhere close to, challenging him. Again, what names have you mentioned out there? Mingueza from Celta Vigo was linked in January. Can we maybe look at him again? He hasn't moved on anywhere. Would he be a better option? And he can play right centre back as well. JD Canvo, 19-year-old defender from Toulouse, been linked with us as well. Looking at 20 million for him. Is Unai going to pay that sort of money for a 19-year-old defender? Possibly, but this is now it's getting towards like desperation. The Nkunku links seem to be gathering pace, and I'm not a fan of that. I even heard Jadon Sancho's name being mentioned. I mean, I don't know where we're going with this. I really don't. This is worrying for me in terms of what players are going to be coming in. Asensio, hopefully that's a done deal. I had my reservations about him because then it pushes Rodgers out wide if they're going to be playing on the pitch together. Maybe Rodgers can play in that left tucked in Ramsey position, and then we go with a Guessand or a Marlon out wide. It can work. You just need some some tactical sort of nous from Emery to make it work. But yeah, I'm just worried that Morgan Rogers, that we're over relying on him, and he's at risk of burnout. And we need to bring in players that can work alongside him, and we shouldn't just be relying on him. And he should nowhere be on the pitch if he's playing as badly as he has in the last 2 games, and he shouldn't be ending the game on the pitch either. John McGinn, get him off the wing. You either play him as a double pivot, or you play him as that tucked in left-hand side or right-hand side tucked in, whichever flank you're going to tuck in, basically. But he's no way your out-and-out winger option. That can't happen against Palace. We'll be absolutely ripped to shreds. Ismail Assar is going to score. So we need Maatsen to play from the left as well. This has become a bit of a Palace preview, but I'm just concerned about the way that we are playing and the attitude of the players just seems to be off. It just seems to be very sulky at the moment, and I hope we can snap out of it. But anyway, guys, that's 20 minutes of me kind of talking about Morgan Rogers, transfer talk as well. I hope we're going to be busy. I'll be jumping straight back on as soon as any sort of concrete news drops in terms of incomings or maybe outgoings as well. Until then, guys, please do like, subscribe, and comment. Premier League's back. Hey, Aston Villa are shit. That's how I feel at the moment, mate. I've been moping since the Brentford game. I haven't been a happy husband, and my wife will be, testament to that. So hopefully Villa get some new signings in the next few days to brighten everything up and freshen everything up. The word that going around is stale, and it definitely looks stale at the moment. The team, it looks like Steven Gerrard, Dean Smith's team, where we don't want that. And Emery needs to freshen it up with the ideas. He cannot go in the same defensive mindset. He came out before or after the Brentford game saying that we want to stop them scoring, something like that. And I think it came out the wrong way. Obviously, you want to stop the opposition scoring so you can score and win, but there has to be a bit of an attacking intent as well. If we win a game 3-2, doesn't matter. I'd rather win a game 3-2 than win it 1-0 sometimes. Do you know what I mean? I want to see some goals. I want to see some attacking intent. I don't want to just see us sitting back and relying on a 1-0 win and being happy with that. You need to go out and score goals. That's what it's about. You can't just win every game 1-0. And if you do go 1-0 down like we did, other teams are just going to sit back, and we don't have the players and the personnel to break teams down in a low block. So that's our problem there. So Emery needs to get wise to that. He needs to figure out a way of changing the team and formation, perhaps. Sometimes you need to go with two out-and-out wingers. But yeah, it all needs to be looked at, each on its own merit. But there's some things that need to stop. John McGinn as a winger needs to stop. Morgan Rogers playing 0 out of 10 needs to come off. When you're playing against pace, you need players like Maatsen. When you're playing teams that are going to be physical, you might need Onana. When you've got teams that are small and nippy and want to knock the ball around, you're probably going to need a John McGinn as CDM. So, it needs to be looked at on a game-by-game basis and opposition-by-opposition basis. But anyway, guys, transfer window still open. I'm hoping for some news to drop in the next 24 hours. No concrete links at the moment. Please don't sign Nkunku. That's not the one for me. But yeah, let's see, guys. Like, subscribe. Until the next video, up the mighty Villa. Bye for now.